And we are live. Oh my goodness, so excited. We've got the Preston Smiles here today. Preston, welcome to our LinkedIn Live interview today.
Ooh, ooh, rah, let's go.
So excited to have you here.
Thank you. Same. Yeah, it's always good when you and I get together. We're both pretty big energy, strong personality kind of people. And I enjoy how crazy you are. So it's just it's awesome. I love your bigness. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I love how big and crazy you are too. We help pull it out of each other, right? So,
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, really quick before we get started. So my community knows everything about you. I know my mastermind members, by the way, fucking love you. You like totally. You guys, Preston flew out to Arizona a couple of weeks ago and spent a good 3 hours with my mastermind community. And they walked away with so many tremendous breakthroughs and were completely changed humans, by the way. So just want to give that to you.
Yeah. Really beautiful.
Yeah. And speaking of that, so that everybody knows, Preston and I met Preston through a mastermind that I had invested in. And he blew my mind. And we immediately started working together one-on-one. And Preston, you single-handedly changed the trajectory of my business by really challenging me to focus on the one thing. I was all over the place and you totally called me on it. And that's what I love about you, right? Like you match my bigness with your bigness and just call me on my shit, right?
Yes. So cool.
Yes. And not only did you help change the trajectory of my business, you also worked one-on-one with my husband. And so you've done some incredible one-on-one kind of high ticket coaching work with us. That's been incredibly foundational for us. But I know you've got some group coaching and some phenomenal programs going on. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just wanted everybody to get a little bit of the backgrounder behind how we connected, how you've changed my life, changed my business, and where we are today. So with that, before we dive into a little bit of your zone of genius, how was Australia? And tell us about your trip.
Yes, Australia was amazing. My wife and I have been going there for almost 10 years, leading nervous system and trauma based workshops, really helping people get free in their bodies, free in their minds, and go to the next level. And what's beautiful about Australia is I also, my wife and I, Alexi, decided that the first half of our marriage, right, the first chapter of our marriage was over. And this was, let's call it 4 months ago. And that we were going to be starting the new chapter. And so we buried and burned some things and let our old rings go and decided we were going to start over. And she didn't know that I had bought, she knew I got a ring, but she didn't know that I snuck it into Australia and I waited for the perfect time and I re-proposed to her on the beach in Byron Bay, got down on one knee and started crying and did this whole thing. And it was really, really sweet and beautiful. So Australia was amazing. Now we're back. I just led 80 people over the last 2 days through another workshop and we're on fire. It's good.
I love that. How sweet, how amazing. And also being a mom of 3 and knowing in some variation of like what you two probably went through as new parents while growing your businesses, it is not for the faint of heart.
Oh, it's absolutely nuts. Yeah, we have 4 children under 5 and a 1-year-old, 3-year-old twins and a 5-year-old. And it is chaos and intensity. And then we have 4 businesses and each other and mental health and all the other things. And so, yeah, it's been really tough. And we just decided to step back in and renew everything and choose each other and choose the highest heights of abundance. And it's really, really cool to not just teach the work, but live the work.
Yes.
And, as a coach, I've been in this space for a very long time. I've done everything wrong you can do as a coach and entrepreneur in the business side. And it's been just really beautiful to, remember that, at 33, I was living with my mom. And, 10 years later, I bought her first ever brand new house as a 70-year-old woman. We own a bunch of real estate. I've been able to, go into the multi-millions, and all of it, is based on some principles and just a willingness to continue to step in.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. It makes me think about a statement Dean Graziosi made about 2 weeks ago. I was at a live event with him at my mastermind. And he said, if you could look back 10 years ago, your 10-year previous self would wish for the problems that you have today. Right?
True.
Yeah.
True. That's so real.
It was so good. It's like, so true. Right. Okay. Well, let's get into a little bit of your zone of genius. So your message is really around love is the answer to everything. Right. But so many of us overlook that. Can we talk a little bit about this? I know this is a big topic that you unpack, but would love to just have a conversation around that.
Yeah. I mean, if we ask somebody what love is, you'll probably get 8 billion different interpretations, right? When I say love, I mean that all of us are swimming in love. Oxygen is love. These beautiful skin suits that we got to inhabit and get to inhabit is love. All of it is, for me, a version of the universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, whatever name you have for it. It's a version of that thing, that higher divine intelligence saying yes to us. And so my work is around embracing and harnessing and using the power that all of us have to reflect and reveal our divine yes, the thing that is calling us forward. And so for me, love is all there is, was, and ever will be. And it shows up in the subtle, small ways and in the gigantic ways. And it's our job to sort of unpack and really take ownership of this life, this one beautiful life that we get to live.
So good. So good. Can you give us an example of like one big version of the love scenario and maybe a micro version of it, and how we can see where we're overlooking and where we can address or be aware as we move forward in this life in these skin suits?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll start quote unquote small, right? Okay. Every day we all wake up and, choose things. We choose what we're going to wear. We choose what our day is going to look like. And in those choices, oftentimes they can be occurring from our programming, occurring from fear, toxic shame, trying to hide in the middle to make sure that we fit in and no one hurts us or harms us like they did when we were younger. And so a quote unquote small act of love would be to stop, take a moment to center, take a deep breath into the body and ask, what do I truly desire in this moment? What do I actually want to wear? Do I actually want to say yes to this particular thing, or am I doing the same thing that I've been doing since childhood and people pleasing and saying yes when I truly mean no? Right? It's the subtleties in the mundane, right? That's why I'm never bored, because there's always little things to take note of, right? And then to pull apart and decide what is true for me, right? So that would be considered like a small act of love. And then there are the bigger ones, quote unquote, bigger ones, like, there are people right now who are doing things that don't fill their cups, right? They're chasing a proverbial carrot in an empty tank, a bottomless pit, trying to prove to their parents or to the bullies or to the person who called them fat or to their ex-husband. They're trying to prove to society that they've made it. And it is an act of love to go against that and choose what's true for you, right? So these are two different scenarios. There's a million different ways. But for me, it's all about coming back to sovereign choice, That's why for a very long time, I called myself a personal freedom coach, because I believe there's nothing more important than our personal freedom, and that there's only two games we're ever playing. One is the outside in game, which essentially states that when I have the right cars, money, my booty looks good, my hair looks good, X, Y, and Z, I get the compliments, I'm validated, then I'll feel happy, right? The other game, which is the one I like to play, is the inside out game, which essentially states I am a unique emanation of the Most High, sent here to reflect and reveal that love in only the way that I can. And I choose to know that I am perfect, whole, and complete right now. Right? And from this space, knowing that all my needs are met, what do I choose? It's a different energy. It's a different context.
Absolutely. So good. And so good. And I think about, your context around self-love and doing things because of safety or conditioning or the way you were raised. I think about, like, for me, having the courage to leave corporate America, and previously it being kind of my safety, like feeling of success and security and conditioning, that even though I was miserable in the role, it was like I was still doing it anyway because of how I was conditioned.
Yes.
And it took a higher level of self-love to say, not a mas, and I don't care what the rest of the universe thinks about me, about facing on this and leaving this title and the outward perception of me. But to your point, being okay inwardly with being happier with the shift and the pivot in my career and my life, regardless of what the world thought of me. Right. So good. Okay. So one more question here around how people can overcome fear and achieve more. What can people be doing to help overcome fear and achieve more today?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a loaded question, because we never overcome fear, right? But what we can do is adjust our attitudes and our understanding about fear. Because there's a big distinction between toxic fear and true fear, right?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes toxic fear is what's invaded our culture. And when we're living from toxic fear, it's like you just said, people make choices because they don't want to be judged. They make choices because they are afraid that they'll be sleeping on the side of the streets and, all these kind of things. And we sort of mentally rehearse worst case scenarios. And the interesting thing is that the nervous system in the body doesn't know the distinction between the mental rehearsal and the real thing. And so now we're sending all of these chemical cocktails of stress throughout the body as if it's a saber-toothed tiger chasing us. And over time, that just builds and builds and builds to the point where we create dis-ease in the body. And so for me, I think it was 12 years ago, I was reading a book called The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And there was a line in the book that said to get your questions answered and your answers questioned. And for me, that literally, my whole mind, like, what? And so I'm going to say it again for those of you who did the same thing I did when I first heard it. The line said, get your questions answered and then your answers questioned. And to answer the question of how to adjust your conversation around fear and achieve more, it's look at what you've been believing and question it. Because oftentimes we will type into Google, why am I so fat? Why is it not working? Why am I not making any money? And Google and God, right, who sort of act in the same way, will always answer the question. The issue is that most people are asking disempowering questions. And so you ask a disempowering question and you get a disempowering answer. Well, when that answer comes through, the next stage for those of us who call ourselves higher achievers are to look at that and ask ourselves, is this true? Is this a fact or is this philosophy? Because if it's a philosophy, I no longer want to take it on. And even if it's a fact, I still don't have to take it on, right? So understanding that you have choice, and most of us have been socially and historically programmed by the societies that we live in, right? If you grew up in a Western culture, there's all of this programming that occurred before the age of 7 that is more than likely still operating inside of you. Then add on top of that sexual abuse, bullying, molestation, car accidents, different things of that nature. All these traumas get stacked on top of each other. And the idea that you're having an authentic thought is actually more than likely not true, right? What I discovered, what helped me break through all of this was when I started to question, my thoughts around me as a business person, me as an entrepreneur, because I kept going back to this, like, well, no, you'll never make money. You're the stupid kid who is in special education, right? You're dyslexic. You'll never, right? And I started questioning that. And then I looked at it and I was like, this is not mine. This is my dad's, his dad's, and his dad's.
Yes.
This is my mom's, her mom's, and her mom's. And not that they were wrong or bad, but they just didn't have the information or someone there to demonstrate what was possible. And so it's on me to break this generational curse, to break this generational hold, and to step out and call bullshit on this idea. And the moment I did, it gave me just enough light, just enough space to see that there's possibility, right? The moment we can question something and it no longer holds weight as if it's a fact, entire worlds open up to us. So that's what I'd say. Question whether what you're hearing and what's coming back to you is actually even close to true. And even if it is, do you still want to keep it?
Yes. So good, Preston. So good. And I guess a follow-up question to this, because I think maybe this is relevant, is because you mentioned this in the beginning, all fear is not bad fear, right? So
Right.
There's also the fear of the unknown as the entrepreneur, right? And taking risks and,
Yes.
Not being afraid to make that decision. I'm curious your thought and take on for lack of a better term, I speak to like the familiarity of the fear and being okay with it.
Yes.
The longer we are in unknown territory as entrepreneurs, can we flex and get more familiar with the fear and be okay with it? And just be like, that's cute. We've been here before. It just means hyper growth is about to happen. Can you speak to that type of fear as well, and how you can move through that and not be paralyzed by it?
Absolutely. There's this thing that I teach, and it's conception, perception, reception, right? And inside of that, right, we all of us are conceiving of things, right? The moment this idea about this business idea, right? Us as entrepreneurs say, I want to build this. I want to experience that. I want to open up worlds over here. This is conception. Well, the moment we are tapped on the shoulder by whatever we call a higher power that drops in this idea, we are in the conception of something. And the moment conception happens, it then moves into our perception. Now, the issue for most people is that they don't understand universal laws. And so one of the universal laws that most people don't understand is the law of opposites. And the law of opposites essentially states that if I declare something, right, a new business, a venture, right, more money, the universe must give me a contextual field that is the opposite of that so that I know it occurs. So for instance, if I say, Spirit, I am ready to go left, it has to give me a contextual field of understanding right so that when left occurs, I know it occurred. So if I want to go up, I have to understand down. If I want to go in, I have to understand out, right? And so it's already built into my understanding that fear comes with the car. It's like a steering wheel, right? And most people think that fear and doubt and the opposite, right? We declare at the beginning of the year, this is the year that I get the best body I've ever had. We get the gym membership. conception, right? It goes into our perception. We say, yes, I got this. And then the first rainy day comes, or a friend comes over 5 days later and they're like, oh my God, I have all these donuts. Who's going to eat them? Right? Right? You take a couple bites of the donut and now we're in deception. Right? And so now our perception is now in deception, and we start to water down the reception. We start to water down the receiving of the thing. So now it's no longer I'm losing 20 pounds. Now it's just, you know what, I'll go to the gym like every once in a while, like, right? And so by the time we get to mid-February, people have already given up and watered down the dream. And it's because they don't understand that the law of opposite comes with every single thing that we declare in the universe. And the law of opposites is always going to be attached to some type of fear because it's the unknown.
So good. So good. I love this, Preston. Okay. So this has been really, really impactful. What these guys, again, because I know you've been on LinkedIn the past couple of months, building an audience, but you are like a mega star on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. You guys, Preston has built multi-million dollar brands, and he has built an extraordinary brand. And I'd love for you to maybe share how you've been able to, and I know you've got this awesome digital product we're talking about in a couple of minutes, but how have you, I know a couple minutes ago, you said that there was some self-sabotage of I'm not made to be successful, an entrepreneur, a businessman, even though clearly you now are this megastar with massive impact, massive business, huge success. What do you think are some key things that have allowed you to create such an extraordinary global brand that is so well known over the years? What has made you created such major impact globally in the digital space, and like boots on the ground, flying to Australia for, the mass megastar that you are? What do you think have been some of the key things that you've been able to do?
I mean, there's so many. First, I'll go like high level conceptual, and I'll say that I understood very, at 33 when nothing was working, right? I had been in the coaching space since 2005, and it was 2013 when I decided to move in with my mom. Right? So I was a 33-year-old man, and I was like, screw it. If I'm going to fall, I have to fall forward. But if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail on my own terms. And I just leaned in and started studying marketing and business and looking at all the places where I was still hiding. And that's the first thing that I want to sort of bring to the table, which is elevation requires separation. And so for any of you that are wanting to elevate and take your business, your life, you want to expand, you must separate. You cannot take the old consciousness and the old habits to the new thing, right? So I started to separate from some of the things that had gotten me to that point, which was making $36,000 a year, right? And so elevation requires separation, really big. Number two, I also understood that what we appreciate appreciates, and what we celebrate in ourselves and in others gets repeated. And so I created a culture of celebration and play, so that it wasn't just about this mountaintop moment. It was about creating a life and lifestyle that felt like what I was going after right now. And so when I got there, it was just another Tuesday, because I had already been living it, for months and years. And so that's that. And then third, I'd say one of the things that has made me the most money, I'll say that, and gotten me in the position that I am, is webinars, actually doing webinars. The one-to-many model, we call it webinars, master classes, trainings, virtual trainings. There's something so magical and beautiful about having a bunch of people on one call instead of doing one-on-one sales calls over and over and over again.
Yes.
So when I really figured out that, what it takes to set something like that up, I went through the process and sort of did everything wrong. And I'm still in that process. But the cool thing about now is there are technologies that make everything 10 times, 100 times easier. And my business partner, Emmanuel, and I created something called Launchware, where you fill out like 50 to 60 questions, and in under an hour, our technology can build an entire launch out, including 10 highly converting emails, all the sequences, all the landing pages. Everything is built out in under an hour through our technology and AI. And so it's a really good time to be an entrepreneur, a really good time to be a coach. And because all of these things didn't exist. They didn't exist a year and a half ago, let alone, 10 years ago when I was hustling my face off.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I mean,
consistent.
Even just speaking of, everything I hope everybody's listening to this, because some of the things you're speaking of for these entry level or even just successful entrepreneurs who have a team, the amount of money we spend on copywriters and, tech experts to build out funnels and opt-ins. And what I'm hearing you say is that this is literally like a shortcut that is all encompassing. I don't know anyone who's doing this right now.
Nope.
I mean, my operating expenses are like nearly 40 grand a month with copywriters, tech support, the whole team building. And you're saying that you have this like shortcut process.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about it. Is it available now? How do people learn about it? Get on your wait list. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yes, it's available now. We have about 300 people in right now, 300 coaches that are in right now who are in a part of our beta, but the technology is fully ready now. And so there's nothing like this on the market, nothing this specific as well. It is as simple as it sounds, and it does. It cuts out 90% of the cost and 90% of the time that it would take. And we've had all kinds of agencies and people jump on and they're like, I can fire most of my team and still be an agency and just use your thing. And we're like, yeah, you can, you have to pay us, but it's really, really cool. If you're launching anything, this is the type of thing that you want, because you could launch 5 things in 5 days, and all of them would be fully built out, custom colors, all the different things, your fonts. And because of the technology that we have and the AI, it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yes. I mean, you're absolutely changing the game for entrepreneurs who, let's be honest, and maybe you're a unicorn, maybe you have a lot of tech experience. I know you have a business partner who's techie, but I know for me, the reason my business is successful is not just because of me, it's because of the yin and the yang of Jackie, my IT integration. I may have a vision as the visionary, I can be on screen, but if I didn't have the software, the tech aspect, the copyright on the back end, I wouldn't be a fourth of what I am today. Correct. And I truly believe what you guys are putting out is an absolute game changer for those who have a phenomenal course, they have a phenomenal idea, they have a phenomenal business idea or product, but they don't have the knowledge or the bandwidth financially to hire an entire team either, or they're looking to consolidate their costs, right?
Yes. And this is like literally every single month. I was spending in the pandemic, about $50K a month on team. And when I got this, I literally fired 80% of that team because it just does it it's so fast. And it's so
incredible.
We modeled all of the top funnels and webinars and challenges, and you can launch anything in this space. And it's just really, really beautiful. It is very tailored towards coaches and people who are in that space. And so, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You either hire an expensive team that you pay every single month, anywhere from 10K to, sometimes 100K a month, or you have a technology that does it. I still have a team. I still have Emmanuel and Angela, but I don't have the 25 other people that I had because this now does it. And it's just so cool.
So incredible. Well, Preston, I know we're at time. I see that you dropped the link in the chat. We'll go back and drop this on the live stream as well. But can you before we wrap up, can you just share, while we're streaming live, can you tell everybody where they can
Yes.
go
Yes.
to also get this?
Exactly. So if you go to smilesintl.co, everything will pop up.
Okay.
Smiles International, but it's smilesintl.co, not com. And if you want to just really go there, it's /free-coaching-training. And that should pop up everything you need.
Perfect. And we'll make sure that we get that in the comment section of our live stream today too.
Perfect.
Preston, thank you so much. You've changed my life. You've impacted my mastermind members. I know that globally you're impacting so many lives with your voice and your message. And I just greatly appreciate you as a friend and a mentor. And thanks for everything that you're doing.
Absolutely. And thank you. And you look fierce with that pink on. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks,
Wow.
Preston.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye-bye.